All right, 1 second there. All right, Wagaron, holding by Pirke Avos, ethics of our fathers, as it is known. Again, one Wagaron, Pirke Avos, ethics of our fathers, as it is known. We're holding by chapter 2, Mishna 15. It's going to be part 5, and we're speaking about what Rebbe Lezer said, that let your fellow's honor be as dear to you as your own. Do not anger easily. We still haven't hit that part of the Mishnah yet. But again, we were speaking about this idea of what does it mean? What does it mean to honor your friends? That their honor should be as dear to you as yours. Right? We spoke about self-esteem. We spoke about all kinds of different things. So now I want to bring down what my Rebbe here says. More Rebbe, our Rav Gaon Moshe should be well. And he brings down in his commentary on Pirke Avos, and he says like this. He says that the honor of your friends should be so important, right? Should be so crucial to you. You don't want to cause them damage, and you want to honor them properly, right? So therefore, we mentioned before, if you borrow something from someone, or whatever it is, you take care of their property. You make sure you don't damage their property, right? That should be obvious. Right, I would think that would be obvious, right? But the thing is that sometimes we're negligent. We borrowed something from somebody, we don't return it, or if we returned it, we're not so careful, and it got damaged, right, etc. So that thing to you has to be like it's your own. Can't be negligent, right, so to speak. And not only that, showing them proper honor, right, also should be important, right? People deserve to have self-esteem. People want to feel good, right? I don't think there's any question. People like to feel good about themselves, right? So what do? You give them strength. You say good words. Let's say you haven't seen them in a while. You say, it's so nice to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. Something like that. That's showing them honor. That's showing that you care. Some people, take this for granted, so to speak. Maybe they won't make comments, right? So, a person likes to feel good about themselves. Now, I know, people are going to say, wow, people say this, people say that, people did this, people did that, to me, and it knocks them down, right? It makes them feel bad about themselves, right? So, I've heard people say, well, you got to be the bigger person. You have to take the higher road. Now, sometimes taking the harder road is hard. A person will say, why should I do that? I'm letting them get away with something that they did. Why should I let them get away with it? No reason, right? No reason I should let them get away with it. Why not? Because then you're going to feel taken advantage of, right? No question. A person does not want to feel they are being taken advantage of, certainly in this world. So they'll say, well, if I let them do this, they'll walk all over me, they'll do this, and other people will do this. So I have to put my foot down sometimes. Sometimes I would agree. Right? It doesn't mean you have to be a shmata, you have to be a dishrek. People walk all over you at the same time. At the same time, it's very good for Elul. And that is that sometimes you just have to look the other way. So you're going to say, but, if I don't do this, the other person won't reciprocate. Or I don't like to have superficial relationships. There are people that are intense people, and they, if they put out themselves in order to, help their friend, or whatever. So they would think, if they're down or whatever, that they can rely on them. If something happens, whatever it is. Woe to the person that you think should really be helping you and they're not. So or you know that if you don't pick up the phone, you won't hear from someone. So the question is, I would say, how important is that relationship? If you understand, well, they're happy to speak to you, right? I think we've spoken about this before. In general, they'd be happy to speak to you. They just don't pick up the phone. They're lazy. They don't pick up the phone. There are people like that. So a person can say, again, I've heard this many times. People say, why should I pick up the phone? Why should I pick up the phone? They're happy to speak to me, okay? But why does it have to be one-sided? So you can say, it doesn't have to be one-sided. You can make a comment if you want. So I think that might damage the relationship, right? But in general, you want to feel that, they're going out of the way for you. So picking up the phone, say, not really a big deal. Why can't someone pick up the phone? I don't have a good answer. There are people that keep in touch with others, that are better. And there are others that don't. Right? So a person would say, I don't like one-sided relationships. Okay? That may be very true. But even if it's true, who says I have to like it? Nobody says you have to like it. Right? So you have to make a decision. If the relationship's worth keeping up, so you'll do that. You will make that effort even though the other person doesn't. Other people would say, let me analyze the relationship here. Again, it could be family, it could be friends, it could be longtime friends. It could grind on a person. Why do I have to be the one to pick up the phone? Now, I would say in general, yeah, it's an annoying thing. Makes sense. Makes sense. But if you want to have that relationship's important to you enough, you'll make the effort. Now, how's the person determine if it's worth it to them? So each one has to have their own criteria, right? Their own criteria. Some people say, yeah, they're so happy to speak to me when I pick up the phone. Again, could it be something that's really annoying? Sure. So you say, well, does a relationship go both ways? Yeah. Relationship goes both ways. And if someone can't make the effort to pick up the phone, people say, I'm not going to bother. I got other things to do with my time. Plenty of other things to do with my time. Why should I waste my time here? Time's limited anyway. You're busy with other things. Why should I waste my time? I don't get anything in return. They're not reciprocating. Doesn't mean you don't have a nice conversation, per se, right? But they don't reciprocate. They don't reciprocate. So I could say it could happen. One or two things could happen. Person gets fed up enough. They say the relationship's not worth it, so I'm not going to keep it up. Right? They're going to say, I've had enough. I'm sick of making the effort and not getting anything in return, quote unquote. Or a person can say, listen, that's the way they are. That's exactly the way they are. It doesn't seem like they're going to change anytime in the future. But a person can say, I make all the effort, you don't make the effort. And if I don't call, I won't hear from them. True. Does that mean that relationship is worthwhile to keep up? I wouldn't, that depends on the person. Right? That depends on the person. So now someone will ask, well, what about from a Torah perspective? Right? What about a Torah perspective? Bottom line, from a Torah perspective, what would I say? So we say the same thing. Depends. It depends. What does God want? God wants you to go beyond the limit. Right? Sometimes you might go out of your comfort zone. Even if you don't like it. All right, but isn't it better? Not to be petty. We're petty about small things, stupid things. You're gonna say this isn't so small. Yeah. Some people will take it to heart. People will say it's offensive. Right? People will say, I make the effort, they don't make the effort. You're right. In the bigger scheme of things, in general, you have a good relationship. Are you willing to let the relationship go because the other person doesn't pick up the phone? Right? So it depends on the person. Some people say, I'm done with this relationship. I made the effort, I got nothing in return. From a Torah perspective, I would say, isn't it better, go beyond the letter of the law here? Don't, what about principles? Aren't principles important? Principles should be important. You don't want to be used. You don't want to always have to be doing and making the effort, true? But let's think about it in the bigger picture, which I think a lot of people miss. And what's the bigger picture? The bigger picture is, you're right, this is annoying. 100% this is annoying. If you tell me it's a bad relationship, if you tell me it's a toxic relationship, a lot of negative things happen in this relationship, then I tell you, it's not worth it. Whether it's family or not. Why not? But nothing good comes out of it. But if it's something you have a good relationship, relatively good relationship, this seems to be a little bit petty, right? I would say that, a person looking at it, if they have a good relationship, okay, so you make the phone call. Whether you get annoyed or not, it doesn't matter. You make the phone call. Is that something that's enough to lose friendship over? Right? That's the question. So you say, according to this, Rebbe says the honor of your friend should be so important to you, you don't want to cause them damage. But let's say in this case, they don't pick up the phone. Would you do that to them? You wouldn't do that to them. Right? Let's say, but they're doing it to you. They don't pick up the phone. And that's making you upset. Right? That is technically really causing you damage. That's not showing honor to you. Right? So my Rebbe here says, that should be the honor to your friendship that is so important to you. But I would say, right, that's true. Am I able to do it? It's easier said than done. Why? Because there are things that a person does even inadvertently. Even by accident, they're not paying attention, cause someone damage. So therefore, you got to be careful when using something that belongs to someone else. Right? You want to take care of it the way you should, the way you would take care of your own object, whatever it is. Or you could look at it by saying, you should be extremely considerate to the other person as much as possible. But what's, obvious question would be, what happens, right? What happens? They don't do that. They don't show proper honor. They're not interested, right? Let's say. Doesn't mean that they don't like you, doesn't mean it's a bad friendship. Right? They just don't do, they don't do this. So I would say, if the friendship's important enough, which probably in some cases that's the case. I'm not going to say all cases. But let's say some cases that is definitely the case. So what do? You make the effort. You go beyond the letter of the law. You go beyond the letter of the law. You say, I wouldn't do it to you. Right? But the fact they do it to you, okay, go on. So what? In other words, the relationship's too important to give up. That's if the relationship is good. If the relationship is bad and it's toxic, nothing to talk about it, right? Someone here asked, right? Someone here asked just that, just that question. Is it right to ignore calls and messages from people you want to avoid? Yeah. In other words, would it be better just tell them to leave you alone and this and that and hash it out? I don't know. I don't know if it'd be better. It depends. Do you want to get all emotionally involved? Right? If you ignore their calls, they'll get the hint. You don't want to speak to them. They'll understand. Now the question is that the right thing to do? It depends on the situation. Yeah, let's say the other person is manipulative. Yeah, and the more they talk, the more, they make you feel bad, whatever. A person, gets sucked in, so to speak. They don't apologize. Yeah, that never goes anywhere. Right? So if it's bad and you know it's negative, and confronting them, nothing's going to happen or it'll get worse, then yeah, if you ignore their calls, they'll get the hint. You know what they say? The only way a person can get to you is if you let them. In other words, if a person knows that they're under your skin, that they're annoying you, right? They get pleasure. Some people get pleasure in annoying other people. That's what they do. They get pleasure getting under your skin. So, simple antidote to that is don't let them get under your skin. Don't give them the pleasure, right? So therefore, someone, if you respond, they're going to attack and you're going to feel bad. And this, ignore them. Because when you ignore their attack, they don't attack anymore. Eventually, they get tired of it. They may try to convince you this way, that way, try and do other things, right? They'll call from different numbers that you don't recognize, so you pick up the phone. Yeah, there are issues. People can do all kinds of things, right, in order to get your attention. Whether, as hard as you try, it's okay, I'll ignore their calls. Or they call from another phone. You didn't know. You don't know this number, so you pick up the phone. And then the other person gets on the phone. Yeah, they can do that also. So you're going to say, so what do you do? I would say, only pick up the phone from numbers you know. And if you don't know the number, let them leave a message. And if they don't leave a message, ignore it. They keep calling back. Yeah. It's an easy way. That's an easy way. But if you know it's negative, right, let's make clear. If you know it's negative and you don't respond, that's a response. That essentially is a response. You're not responding, right? You're not answering. So what happens? They get the hint eventually. Or they try and manipulate, try and get you otherwise. But in general, it's not a problem. Definitely not a problem because of a negative influence. Why do you have to take the call? Right? Why would you have to take the call? You wouldn't. Right? If I know something's bad for me, I don't have to do it. You don't have to feel bad either because you know it's bad. You have an obligation to protect yourself. So if you have an obligation to protect yourself, that's what you should do. How far do I have to go out of my comfort zone? This is damaged. This is toxic. Nothing's going to come out of it. Only going to make you feel bad and then make you feel bad about the whole situation. Different things happen. You nip it in the bud. You nip it in the bud. You don't want it. You're not interested in it. Right? That's not bad. That's protecting yourself. You're obligated. Your life comes first. Your life comes first. Listen, if there's a way to get rid of the person, and you can talk to them and good things come out of it, and that's the end of it, it's one thing. If not, it's like you're banging your head against the wall, right? No one's going to say a person has an obligation to do that by any stretch, right? So therefore, what? Therefore, in this case, right, ignoring calls from people that, is going to have negative influence, it's not a problem. It's not a problem. They'll get the hint. That being so rude, again, you are protecting yourself. So if you protect yourself, it's not an issue, right? It shouldn't be an issue. Someone asked, when it comes to relationships, are we supposed to only give and don't expect anything? There's a statement I've said before. I know a lot of people hate it. And the statement is, expect nothing and whatever you get is a bonus. That is not a Torah concept. That is definitely not a Torah concept. Why? Because you deserve respect. Every person deserves respect. So therefore, someone who doesn't respect you, for whatever reason, who says I have to have a relationship with them? Right? Who says? If a person ends up, knows somebody, again, it could be family, it could be friends, it could be old friends and this and that. It's a way of protecting yourself. That's very true. Right? It's a way of protecting yourself because you're saying, I'm not going to let this person hurt me. Right? I'm not going to let this person hurt me. So therefore, I don't expect anything. I don't expect any great things from this person. So if you don't have any expectations, true, that's a defense mechanism. I'm not going to say it's a bad one, but it's a defense mechanism. Right? In other words, you're protecting yourself from being hurt. So people put up barrier, sometimes, not to get hurt, because they don't want to get hurt. Yeah, in some ways it's bad because you don't confront the issue. What you do is just you sideswipe it, so to speak. You push it to the side. That's what you do. You don't deal with it. Now, dealing with it can be painful, true. Very true. But if you get to the heart of what it is, it makes it a little bit easier. So in this case, where we would say, expect nothing, whatever I get is a bonus, not a Torah concept. Totally not a Torah concept. Why? What does the Torah demand? When it comes to Yom Kippur, commentaries tell us, someone comes to ask you for forgiveness, they're not going to tell you what it is. Well, they ask you for forgiveness in general, which would mean they've done something wrong. So really, you should forgive them. But you tell me they did X, Y, and Z. Very hard to forgive them. True. Very, very true. But if we think about all the terrible things we do, against God, so measure for measure, if we look the other way, what someone did against us, as we mentioned many times, God will look the other way at what we did against him, measure for measure. Now, what's the obvious question? What's the obvious question comes out of this? The obvious question is, I'm still hurt. I'm still in pain. If I'm still in pain, then you can't accept their forgiveness. It's very hard. In other words, when you forgive them, if you say, yes, I will forgive you, right? That means deep down now. It means deep down in your hearts, right? Deep down in your hearts, deep down in your heart, you have to forgive them. Now, does that mean, does that mean you have to be best friends? No. Doesn't mean you have to be best friends. But deep down, you have to look at what they did as if they never did anything. Again, it doesn't mean I'm best friends with them. I don't have to be best friends with them. But you have to be able to forgive with 100% a full heart. If you don't forgive with a full heart, that's not forgiveness. That is definitely not forgiveness. So everyone's going to say, I don't think there are going to be any exceptions here. And that's almost impossible. It's almost impossible. I heard a story, the crazy story, many, many years ago. Many years ago. Somebody killed somebody else. Killed them in cold blood. They're teenagers or young adults, whatever it was. The mother of the one that had the child killed, that this guy was killed, befriended the person who killed him. This is unheard of. This is totally unheard of. To non-Jews. Befriended them, helped them, different things. Yeah. So you say, well, isn't that a very high level? You can look at it, in a few different ways. One way is the fact, this person, in order to deal with the trauma and the pain, right, saw through the other person. I mean, obviously they weren't so righteous over here, right? Killed their son in cold blood. Yeah. Most people would say throw him in jail, give him the death penalty, different things, because they killed your loved one, right? That would be a normal reaction, quote unquote. Now, what's the Torah reaction? What's the Torah reaction? And the Torah reaction is, this person was supposed to die. There was a decree made on this person. And this other person fulfilled the decree. So you're going to say, the other person did it. It's like Bible. God sent him. God used him as a messenger. You're right. God used him as a messenger. But he acted on his free will. Doesn't mean he doesn't have free will. So he acted on his free will. He acted on his free will. What? We always say, right? We always say, what's the bigger picture? Right? I'm going to speak about this next week, or this coming week. starting on Wednesday, doing this, what do you call it, spiritual growth, in groups, as well as, one-on-one, depending what people want to discuss. But the most important thing is, first of all, I have to see the bigger picture. Now, this would seem like almost impossible, right? In other words, you're seeing the other person, you're seeing beyond what they did. They took a gun and killed your child, God forbid. Yeah? Or they killed a loved one, whoever it was. Cold blood, they're high on drugs, who knows what. For something seemingly really stupid. That's what it seemed like. Let's say. But at the end of the day, if you believe in God and you believe in the Torah, then obviously, now again, this has to be processed. This is not therapy here, but you have to process what happens. There's no such thing as a mikra ba'alma, but something just happens in general, right? Unlike Amalek, who says stuff happens. There's no supernatural. And that still very much exists in the world, right? They believe nothing ever, nothing happens. It's meaning that it's all random. It's all random. Yeah. So you're gonna say, you're letting the person get away with it. You can grieve for the person, you get an obligation to grieve for the person that died. There's no question. Let's say they were taken very young or whatever. You can definitely grieve for the person, no question, and you're gonna be in pain. You're certainly gonna be in pain. Yeah, but how do I view it in the bigger scheme of things? According to the Torah, did this person have a decree on their head? Yes. It can be on their heads. And they didn't have enough merit to save them. So what happened? They died. You're going to say, in this case, the person was murdered. Person murdered in cold blood, let's say. Or it could be something happened accidental or whatever the case is. Right? So a person would say, if that happened, how do you justify it? Yesh din v'yesh dain. There's judgment, there's a judge. We don't believe things happen by accident. Do we know all the things going on in the background of why this person, why this young adult needs to be killed? No. We're missing a lot of information. A lot of information. Don't get me wrong, you're not whistling Dixie and say, well, must have been this, must have been that, reincarnated soul had to go through this. You're right. You're singing and dancing. You're not singing and dancing. You're missing the person. You're totally missing the person. You have to grieve. There's a grieving process for sure. And it's going to look like utter chaos. Like, what's happened to my kid? Or whatever. Should have happened to someone else? God forbid. But at the end of the day, that's your time. That's their time. I was reading something today by Victor Miller, blessed memory, where Victor Miller was saying, preparing for Elul, one of the things he was saying was, you got to take every day. You got to take every day. Every day is a golden day. Because you know what? Tomorrow, you don't know what's going to be. He said, a number of people, younger people seemed to be okay. And one day they didn't wake up. They couldn't say Modani. They didn't wake up. God took their soul. God totally took their soul. So he's saying we take a lot of things for granted. Why, right? What's one of the most important things we take for granted? No question. Health. Health. That's what we take for granted. The major thing we take for granted. He says, your body works, body functions right. Kidneys function okay. Your liver functions okay. Your brain works. You'd be a million things to be thankful for. Plenty of things. We just don't view the world that way. We take it for granted. And he's telling you life and death is in front of you. The month of Elul comes Rosh Hashanah. Why aren't you prepared? Why aren't you thinking like today could be your last? You're going to say, if I live like that, it'll be very depressing. I don't know. Be very invigorating thinking about it. You live life to the fullest. You won't waste time. So yeah, we're busy, we get distracted. True. But he's telling you, you take life for granted. There's no guarantee. You go to sleep, guarantee you're going to wake up tomorrow? No. There's no guarantee. You say, oh, I woke up yesterday, I woke up the day before. Why should I wake up tomorrow? Why should I wake up tomorrow? Hopefully everyone will wake up tomorrow. There are people who won't wake up tomorrow. Why? Because God took them. And he took them in their sleep. Where, what, how, why, when, don't know. We don't have answers. We got an obligation to live life to the fullest. Because you don't, repent today because you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. Right? That's exactly what King Solomon says in Proverbs. You don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. You don't even know what today's going to bring. Right? A person's going to be feeling well, this and then drop dead. Who knows? I know a story happened many years ago. Right? Someone, much older, goes for their routine checkup. Yeah, blood work, the whole 9 yards. Everything comes out good. Right? Seemingly in good health. 2 weeks later, a massive heart attack or stroke. That was it. And sometime later, they died. Right? The year hasn't ended yet. So Victor Miller was saying, did we think about all the goodness we had last year? What's the most abundant of goodness that we have? Life. That's what we have. That's the most important thing. You don't have life, you're not here. I mean, a better place, hopefully. Basking in God's glory, whatever that means. You're having a portion of the world to come. Very good. But you're living in this world day in and day out. We get distracted very easily. A lot of things take us away from thinking these things. And all because it's just depressing. That's not the reason. Right? The reason is we're busy. We're extremely busy. So he's saying, take 5 minutes a day. 5 minutes a day. It's not like, he's not saying take hours. He's not saying meditate on this. Then 5 minutes. Take 5 minutes what you're thankful for. What you're thankful for. Think about what God gave you the last year. So, but I suffered like this, I suffered like that. I had this difficulty, that difficulty. Okay, it's all true. Could have had a lot of difficulty in many areas. Yeah. We still here? Can I still go like this? I don't have arthritis. My brain still works. My body still functions. So many things to be thankful for. He says we forget. We forget. He says, yeah, there's a lot to work on. A lot of things we want to fix up. That's very true. Right? And, it's hard to fix up even one thing. Okay. But at the end of the day, what do we have to do? What do we have to do? We have to work hard. You have to look at the bigger picture. If you don't look at the bigger picture, you're going to say, well, woe to me. This happened, that happened, everything happened. And I'm drowning. A person can say, I'm drowning over here. It's so hard in so many ways. Okay. Not disagreeing. Could very well be. But what about the flip side? What about what I have? Right? Is the cup half full or half empty? Most people are going to say half empty. That's going to be the first reaction for a lot of people. I can say everybody. For a lot of people. Why? Because they don't know how to live. They don't know how to live. And they complain left and right. This happened, that happened, everything happened. What happened to the good? What happened to what you have? You don't get everything in this world. There's a lot of suffering. A lot of suffering. You don't get everything. So again, I'll use myself as an example. I have a son-in-law's brother had a child, had a girl. They made a kiddush. They made a kiddush this Shabbos. So a lot of his family came to where I live for Shabbos. The whole thing, how they got there, how they got their parents and siblings, some of his siblings, a place to stay. It was the whole thing, how it orchestrated, how it got all done. How it all got all done. So Friday nights, he had his father, mother, 3 siblings, 4 siblings, and a spouse. So he had 4 girls and a husband, right, that she was married to. So they had 6 people. Right? 6 people, right? So they had 6 people. And my daughter was there my son-in-law, so that's another, that's another 5. So you have 11, plus my family was 15. My other daughter came. One of my other daughters came. It was 18 people. We had 18 people Friday night. We didn't start the meal till 9 o'clock. No, whatever. We ended up starting late for whatever reason, right? 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock, we started the meal. They didn't leave till 11:45. It was late. Someone had conked out in the sofa, whatever. It's just, a lot of rambunctious little kids. You got 4 kids under the age of 4, 4.5. So it was, it was kind of loud. And a lot of boys there. So whatever, it was kind of loud or whatever. But, as I was telling, my son-in-law's father, I said, someone told me many years ago, when your kids get married, if you get along with the other side, it's also good. It's not a given. You have different families, grew up differently, you have different customs, different things, higher on the Shabbos table, like all kinds of, there are differences, some similarities, but there are differences. Yeah. So to have families blend together, and everyone gets along and people go see each other and different things, it's a huge thing. Not a small thing by any stretch. I know people that, some of their kids married to families and never see them. They never see the families, never really speak to them. Sometimes it's bad blood. I mean, a lot of things can happen. So it was exhausting. Definitely exhausting. No question. And then I went to bar mitzvah this morning. So then I went to this kiddush of, my son-in-law's brother, etc. So by the time I got home, it was like 12 o'clock. I usually eat earlier. It was just hot, extremely hot outside. So like everyone's dead. Everyone's just like really tired. Whatever. So we had our meal at 12:30, 1:45. Whatever. Everything was like, everything was later. But, in the bigger scheme of things, I went to this kiddush. Unbelievably enjoyable. A few people spoke, this, that. It was unbelievably enjoyable. Now, does that mean everything in your life goes smooth? No. But when you think about certain things, a lot of people don't have that. It's not a small thing. It's not a small thing. So, I always say, there are things to be extremely, happy about. Extremely happy about. And the reason is, is because exactly that. You get along. You enjoy each other's company. And not like, you see each other so often, right? But the families get along. That's a huge thing. That's a huge thing. And that's something to be extremely thankful for. Extremely thankful for. Now, there could be other things. Maybe you don't like as much. Maybe this, okay. But if things go along smoothly, you have 18 people, you know what that is? 18 people. We're out a lot of food, a lot of preparation. It's also true, right? But at the same time, they brought something. My daughter brought something. Made something. So whatever, made it a little bit easier, right? But in the end, you had 18 people sitting at the table, and kids running around, a little bit chaotic, right? I should say a lot chaotic, whatever, But at the same time, amazing thing. It's an amazing thing. Now does that mean every last? So you can look at that and say, wow, that's pretty amazing. You look at other things, and say, oh wow. That's pretty amazing. But sometimes when a person's down, you can say that and say, wow, look at this and look at that, and look what you have to be thankful for, right? And that's all true, but you forget because why we always say get beaten down in life, and you don't see it. You can't see beyond that, right? That's a problem, right? That's the problem. It's the whole question. How do you deal with it, right? How do you get yourself out of that rut? So says Rav Victor Miller, mentioned many times, but you got to be thankful for what you have. Thankful your body works in general. Thankful for so many things. When your body doesn't work and doesn't function well, you're miserable. Your back hurts, your legs hurt, this hurts, got arthritis, different things. Like sometimes there's no reprieve. But when there's a reprieve, let's say you don't have major health issues. How many people are thankful for that? I'll tell you when they're thankful for it, when something goes wrong. Their head hurts, they have a headache, they get dehydrated, different things. When when their body's out of whack, throws them out of whack. And it can only be, it can be one thing in the body. But the Miller was saying how many major things we have to be thankful for. He said you be thankful for blood clots. No problem with blood clots. No offense to anyone who may be anemic, right? If they get a cut or something, it takes a long time for it to heal. And it could be dangerous for them. For most people, you get a cut, okay, it may hurt for a while, but at the end of the day, most people it's going to heal. Even if you're in pain, it's still going to heal eventually, at some point. So he says, why aren't you thankful for that? Your blood clots. Why thank we don't have an aneurysm, God forbid. All of a sudden, God forbid, blood goes, out of circuit where it's not supposed to be. Boom, person can have an aneurysm. You think about that? Never. Who thinks about that unless I hear someone else who had it? I know of a story when I was a kid. Happened when I was a kid. I know of two different people, older people, much older people. Each one had an aneurysm, brain aneurysm. One of them woke up, lived a number of years afterwards. The other one didn't. Why? I can't answer. But you don't think about these things. We don't think about things until we don't have them. We get, the Ramchal says, we mentioned many times in Derech Hashem, the Ramchal says clear, you're in this world to what? To toil. Right? It says in Path of the Just. You're in this world to toil. That's what you're here for. Bottom line. So, okay, that's what we're here for. I mean, life's going to be easy. No. Question is how I view it. How I see, yeah, but this is bad, that's bad, the other thing's bad, and this is hard, that's hard. You're right, we have hard lives. Everybody has hard lives, some more, some less. Everybody has hard lives. Okay, what's my view? What's my view? My view is God, take it away. That's my view. I don't want it, right? The view is, you're right, God, take it away. You're the one in charge. I have to be better. That's my mantra. I have to work harder. I have to be better. Of course, I deserve whatever's coming to me. 100%. We lose focus. That's the bottom line. We lose focus. Because we feel like our whole life being crushed. Like everything's caving in. Now, it might be. There's certain things that, yeah, very, very hard. I get it. Extremely hard. The question is viewing it. Is the bigger picture. And I'm convinced if you see the bigger picture, 80% of whatever issue you have should go away. Yeah. Now psychologists tell me I'm off my rocker for saying that. Why? Because they'll say, come on, people have, chemical imbalances, other things could be. I'm not going to cure chemical imbalance per se. Right. And, someone who's, bipolar, someone schizophrenic, even though they're on proper medicine and they don't have so many episodes. Yeah. Okay. No matter how much they will, it's not going to help. That's true. Right. I'm sure there are a number of things like that. I'm saying people that, relatively healthy mentally. Right. So the relatively healthy is the question, okay, how do I deal with this? How do I deal with the downfall? How do I deal with this misfortune? How do I deal with my life seemingly crumbling along where people say things and all kinds of things? Yeah. So the question of how we see it, of how we view it. Someone here asks, can hatred be justified? Can hatred be justified? So the simple answer, is that yes. The King Solomon and Ecclesiastes says it's time to love and time to hate. So we normally take it as, you hate the action, not the person. Now, the Torah itself says you're not allowed to hate your brother in your heart. You're not allowed to hate them in your heart. Now, what if they cause other people to sin? What if they cause other people to restrain? And I fight against them. I should fight against them. Because King David himself says in the book of Psalms, I love those that love you. I will fight against those that hate you. So the Rebbe said many times, people trying to bring down Judaism, dilute Judaism, we have to fight against them. Right? I'm not saying physically. You have to protest against it. Protest what they do. You have to bring out what they do is wrong. Etc. Right? So people like that, okay. They're causing other people to sin. It doesn't matter what they know or not. Take a Reform rabbi. Yeah? Reform rabbi doesn't know very much. Most Reform rabbis don't know very much. Most conservative rabbis don't know very much. Yeah, but someone attaches themselves to the Reform movement. So my Rebbe would say that what they're attaching themselves to a movement wants to uproot Torah mitzvahs. That's what they want. Conservative movement did not start that way. They want to preserve things, but they didn't, they weren't going that far for sure. I mean, today, I would tell them there's no difference. They're 10 years behind, maybe a little bit less. 10 years behind reform. Yeah. But they function differently. Well, the goal of what reform is doesn't matter. Right? Fact is, they're there to uproot Torah. It doesn't matter. The kids, grandkids, they don't know anything, but they identify with it. He says it's 10 times worse. It's 10 times worse doing that, associating with people like that, than than if you were conservative. If you were a conservative Jew. Yeah, with all their quote unquote doctrine or whatever. So Kaufman would say, what's the difference? They're both doing the same thing, essentially. Even though that's not what the conservative movement started out as, but they're not really that much different. They hold by LGBTQ, yes. They have gay rabbis, yes. Women rabbis, all this. So are they really that different? He says, yes. He says, since the conservative movement did not start that way, doesn't matter where they're holding today, right? Reform is worse. So again, it's like the irresistible force against a movable object. He'll never agree. I brought this up a number of times. He'll never agree. He'll never agree. He'll say it's worse. Okay. It's 10 times worse. I get it. It's 10 times worse. So those people we fight against. We have an obligation to fight against. Right? And you do whatever you can to fight against. You take someone like the Satmar wrote, just his your site, the commemoration of his death was last week. Right? So my Rebbe wrote a whole thing. About how he came out very strongly against Zionism. Very, very big anti-Zionist, right? Without going into the details, I'll just point out that, he fought against these people like tooth and nail, no question. Fought against them and their movements and everything, no question. It came to a Jew in distress, and they needed to be helped, let's say monetarily. He did whatever he can to help them. So you can say, isn't that a contradiction? No. He fought against these movements where they deserve to fight against because of the damage it caused. Again, without going into all the details. Yeah, but every could help, regardless of who they were, right? In general, someone who was like goes uproot Torah and is in jail, a question is would they help him try and get out of jail is a different issue. It'd be a different issue. But I'm saying most people, most people, So hating, I can hate what they do. Right? Someone there mentions, what are all Germans? They say, they're all Nazis. All right, I don't think all of them are, but a number of them certainly are. So what about all the non-Jews that hate Jews out there? Europe, drenched in blood, drenched in Jewish blood. Russia, drenched in Jewish blood. Ukraine, drenched in Jewish blood. All over. Shade all of them. Shade all of them for what they've done. And God's going to take it, God is going to deal with it. God is going to deal with them, there's no question. Plenty of anti-Semites there, and thousands and millions of Jewish blood spread all over, right? All over. God's going to take care of that. We don't have to worry. Am I allowed to hate what they did? Absolutely. Am I allowed to hate them as people? Yeah. Can hate what they did. Even if the Jews deserve it, doesn't matter. Can hate what they did. Right? That, when we say, the Nazis say, Yamach Shemoy V'zichur, may the name be blotted out, may they rot. Yeah. You say that about Jews also. Some Jews. Right? As my Rebbe wants this question, and whatever we want to answer. Right? So, Zionists, can I say that? You can say it about Zionists, let's say. Like I said, not all Jews. But so what about secular Jews in general? Don't know anything. They don't know anything. They'll status like a potato farmer. No offense, I know it's a potato farmer, grew up in Idaho. Right? So, they have their status. That's a great Shabbos in public. Have their status as non-Jew in general. Very good. Yeah. But at the end of the day, can't hate them. Those people, someone with a Tino Shanishba, I grew up as a potato farmer in Idaho, you can't hate them. You have to try and draw them close as much as possible. One of the ones that are, they're doing terrible things, that's a different issue. You think someone Herzl, you used to call him Herzl Schmerzel, right? The one who quote unquote founded secular Zionism. Yeah, horrific, something like that. You make fun of it, you can hate him, not just what he did, you hate the person. And people that You know, you had people that could have ransomed Jews in Israel, and they didn't, you know, during the war. People like that, yeah. You know, they're evil. You can hate certain people. I'm not saying, you know, you got to be careful who it is. You know, certainly who it is. But yeah, there are people you're on to hate. Even though normally we say you hate the action and not the person, it depends. Depends what they've done. Someone who's caught, you know, you have the Zionist government that, you know, when Yemenite children came to Israel, they put them in secular places, cut off their pays, and made them secular Jews. Can I hate them for that? Yes. 100%. But yeah, but it depends. You know, it depends. Anyone who's killed Jews, you can look at it and say, well, the Jews deserved it for whatever reason. Okay, we don't understand. You know, that might be true, but what they did in the horrific way they did it, yeah, I can certainly hate them. Right? That's no question. Or it says the same with the Arabs, the Ukrainians, yeah. Yeah, I know. Like I said, I know a number of people. Few people grew up and lived in the Ukraine. You know, ended up one went to America and then came to Israel. The other came, I think, straight to Israel when he was a teenager, I think. And both said the same thing: absolutely despise where they grew up. Right? I think, you know, most Russian Jews, you know, wherever they grew up there, you know, wherever it was, whenever they got out or they could have got out, they had nothing good to say about the Russians. Makes sense. Makes perfect sense now today. Okay, it's more open there, you know, different things, but they lived in horrific times. Yeah, unbelievable horrific times. You know what they've done. Not to mention what the Germans done and others have done, but they had a, you know, physical Holocaust and spiritual Holocaust. I think spiritual Holocaust is worse. They didn't allow people to learn Torah. So all these people became atheists. That's what came out of communist countries. Totally became atheists. You know, nothing to talk about. So yeah, they also brutally murdered them and, you know, sent them to Siberia and all kinds of other things. Yeah, horrific to live under them. Horrific. You know, no question. That's why, you know, I mentioned before, you know, this war, you know, Russia against the Ukraine, you know, you know, hopefully, you know, all the Jews of Ukraine can get out, you know, whatever. But both have tremendous amount of Jewish blood spilled. I don't think too many people feel bad. You know, too many Jews I don't think feel bad, except for the Jews that are stuck there. You know, that they're, you know, killing each other. They have it coming. 100% they have it coming. But you know what? I've heard someone say, you know, all these nations have it coming. You know, they had, you know, Hungary, they have it coming. Look what they did. You know, Germans, Balkans, everybody. You know, it's all Jewish blood there. All over. Right? You don't think they're going to have it coming? They'll have it coming. God will take care of them. There's no question. So not just, you know, so someone said, you can't just single out Russia and Ukraine. Jews have had it bad everywhere except in America. But in America, it's been a spiritual Holocaust. Right? But another place in Europe, horrific. You know, absolutely horrific. Someone asks, okay, change subject here a little bit. Out of curiosity, the Lithuanian Jews, actually, you know, we'll call them yeshiva type Jews. Do they wear shtreimels? No. Most people who wear shtreimels are Hasidic. Lithuanian Jews do not wear shtreimels, right? It's just, why don't they? A lot of Hasidim, you know, that's what, you know, where they grew up, you know, in the old home, so to speak. They wore shtreimels instead of, you know, regular black hats, whatever. They wore these fedoras, right, as its own. So you have different groups of Hasidim that wore different types. Okay. You know, the Lithuanian Jews wear them? No. Right? Most likely not. Someone asked, Rosh Hashanah, does Rosh Hashanah affect non-Jews? 100%. Non-Jews don't realize, and they should realize, that what do we commemorate on Rosh Hashanah? We're making God king. Everyone agrees we're making God king. If you read a Rosh Hashanah prayer book, that's what it's all about, judgment. Right? Life and death, making God king. Very good. Yeah, so what about non-Jews? We say, you know, it's only for Jews. Remember one thing, that we say that God, you know, that's commemoration of the creation of man. We don't say commemoration of Jews. Commemoration of man. So everybody, Jew or non-Jew, is going to get judged on Rosh Hashanah. They're going to get judged. Everybody. Now, Rosh Hashanah, remember, Rosh Hashanah has nothing to do with repentance. That's a mistake. Rosh Hashanah, we have to work on ourselves all month of Elul. We want to change. We want to be better people. But if you go through the entire prayer book, the entire machzor on Rosh Hashanah, one thing is very significantly missing, and that is about repentance. We don't mention anything about repentance. Rosh Hashanah is about making God king. That's what it's about. 100%. That's what it's about. And nothing to do with repentance. 10 days of repentance, Yom Kippur, that's about repentance. That's all about repentance. So essentially, the month of Elul, I got to prepare. I'm preparing for judgment. So how do you prepare for judgment? You got to look in your actions. You got to see what you've done over the last year. Now you got to figure out what you have to fix. Something's more, something's less, whatever it may be. Isn't that repentance? That's preparing, yeah. That's definitely preparing, but that's not what Rosh Hashanah is. Rosh Hashanah has nothing to do with repentance. Rosh Hashanah has to do with making God king. That's the most important thing. It's all about kingship. It's all about taking the yoke of heaven on, wanting to be better and making God king in our lives on a daily basis. Right? I can speak next hour about that. I'm not going to, but that's the essence of Rosh Hashanah. So therefore, non-Jews also. Non-Jews also have to prepare. They're also getting judged. They just don't know it. Right? So what does a Noahide do? Let's say a Noahide. What would they do for Rosh Hashanah? Prepare. They're going to prepare. You get 30 days. Be introspective. Figure out what you have to work on, what you want to gain, what you want to accomplish. That non-Jews should also do. Right? It's not just for Jews per se. They also get judged. Do they have to pray like a Jew does on Rosh Hashanah? No. They have to go through, sit in synagogue 10 hours, or more in Rosh Hashanah. No. Certain things they can say themselves, very good, but, again, they also have to be introspective. But make no mistake, it's not about repentance, right? You have to be introspective. True. Right? But it's all about making God king. Someone asked, can a convert hug his father or mother? Yes. That is no problem. And a Jew can hug his father or mother. And grandfather and grandmother. Right, on either side. But if it's a step-grandmother, no. Yeah, for a guy, step-grandmother, no. Or for a woman, step-grandfather, no. But the person can also hug their kids, their grandkids, as well. The question is, though, a convert and their parents. Why? Because let's say everybody converts. Let's say the kids and the parents convert. Very good. Very good. Problem is, when someone converts, they're called the Katan Shenola Dami. They're considered like a newborn baby. So if they consider like a newborn baby, is there a connection spiritually between the child and the parents? Right? That's the question. And the answer is technically no. There's no connection. So therefore, seemingly since there's no connection, right? No spiritual connection. So therefore, you can say they shouldn't hug them, even the parents. Why? Because they're not connected anymore. Right? But the halacha is they're allowed to. They're allowed to. They're allowed to over here. Someone who's adopted, that might be a different issue. That's a different issue. Right? Because they're not the parents. It might be the legal guardian, but it's not their parent, per se. Right? So if it's not their parents, that's a different issue, not related. It's always someone, you can only hug really mother, father, sister or brother, but or a child or a grandchild. Another, when it comes to a sister or brother, past a certain age, they shouldn't hug each other. You say, come on. You really think anything's going to happen? It doesn't matter. Right? That's not the issue. Well, even nothing would happen. They would have these type of feelings or whatever. You should limit the contact, that physical contact. Can a person do it technically? Technically, yeah. Yeah, technically, yeah. It's not an issue. Right? So therefore, can they hug their father or mother? Not a problem. Someone asks, 1 second here. Someone mentions, just on this idea of anti-Semitism, where they were born as part of their nationalism. Yeah. In other words, anti-Semitism is part of the nationalism. Yeah, it's a problem. It's a definite problem. right? In one sense, it makes you stronger because you don't have anything to do with them, right? On the other hand, let's say in the States, they say, everyone's welcome. There is anti-Semitism, there's no question, right? But it's probably been one of the best places, Jews have ever been, right? But the difference is, you know who the enemy is. You stay away from them, right? You know exactly who the enemy is. In the States, be like us, like the Greeks. Be like us, go to their stadiums, follow sports, entertainment, this, that, intermarry. That's more dangerous. That's much more dangerous because that's bringing people in through love, through appreciation, through different things. Someone wants to annihilate you, and that's part of their anthem, so to speak. Yeah, right. So you won't have anything to do with them, right? Stay away from them because there's nothing good about them. Nothing over here. It's when they try and entice you with other things that's worse, right? So yeah, I would agree. I'd agree that's easier in a certain sense because that's part of it. They know where you stand and you know where they stand, right? So that's good. That's good. The question is when they try and bring you close, that's a problem, right? That's what the Jews in Germany had a problem with because, they said, listen, we fought in your wars, we married your women, we went to universities, different things. So they couldn't understand. They said, take these Orthodox Jews, take these religious Jews. Why are you taking us, right? Hitler, you didn't care. You didn't care at all. You're a Jew. You had a quarter Jewish blood, half Jewish blood, doesn't matter. He took everybody, right? He took everybody. But secular Jews couldn't understand. He said, we're like you. And God says, you want to be like them, they're going to come and annihilate you, right? You're making a big mistake. Someone there asks, where do you think the lost tribes are? Don't know. So, I don't know. Don't know where they are. So someone asks, is it even accurate to say they're lost? Yes. We don't have them. Right? We don't really know where they are. Right? So it's pretty clear they're not around, because we're missing a very significant amount of Jews, so to speak. Not like the ones that were murdered and assimilated. There should be a lot more Jews. So the Gemara, the Mishna brings down in Sanhedrin, the end of Sanhedrin, the Mishna has a difference of opinion whether the tribes come back or not. There's no question they're lost. Everyone agrees they're lost. Right? That's not the issue. The issue is, are they ever going to come back? So that's a difference of opinion. Would I say it's probable? Don't know. I don't know because on the one hand you could say, God's going to bring them back. Reunite the Jewish people. Okay. On the other hand, if they're lost, they're lost. Yeah, who says they're going to come back? Right? Who says they're going to come back? Some say that there are certain groups that some I think in Afghanistan, somewhere else, they claim similar customs to what we do, different things, even though they're Muslim or whatever. That want to claim that they might be one of the lost tribes. Could be. I haven't looked into it, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. It really doesn't matter because okay, if they come back, very good. If not, they got a lot of hoops to jump through before that. So practically speaking, it's a moot point. But we definitely believe that they're lost. I don't think there's any question that that they are lost. I think the only question really is are they coming back, and in what capacity, right? So again, that's that's the difference of opinion. Could God bring them back? In their full force and whatever, sure. Could, and even if we did, so that boasts the number of the Jewish people, okay. Is he going to? Difference of opinion. Difference of opinion. But there is no question that we hold that they're lost. I don't think anyone debates that. At the end of the day, as the prophet says, it's only going to be a remnant left. I think Torah says it also. It's only going to be a remnant of Jews left after the war of Gog and Magog. right? After the war, to end all wars, at the end of days, how many Jews are going to be left? We see now there's only 14, 15 million Jews, in the world. And, if you go back to Mount Sinai, the birth rate and the death rate, reality is should be like 150 million Jews, right? Or more. So what happens? I had a great rabbi once say that a lot of Jews, were killed, died out, and the rest assimilated. That is a scary statistic. That means that even with the amount of people that died, or were killed, or whatever the case is, the rest assimilated. I mean, you have to understand, what's going on, in parts of Europe before the war. Right? Before the war, in Germany itself had 80% intermarriage. That means 8 out of 10 Jews disappeared. 8 out of 10. It was rampant throughout Europe. That is the single biggest Holocaust today. Right? We mentioned this many times. Single biggest Holocaust. Right? The assimilation into marriage. There's no, there's no question. Absolutely no question. So, yeah, a lot of people were killed. It's true. It's true, but think about it. In the world today, you got America for sure, you got 60%, 70%. Intermarriage, some places 80%. South America is probably higher. Other places probably higher. That is the biggest significant problem. Is assimilation and intermarriage. That means what do I have? That means you have like 10% that are religious, or call themselves religious, and in some way. I mean, keep kosher, keep Shabbos, the way they should. Let's say 10%. Let's say 10%. That means 90% are going to be wiped off the face of the map unless it's serious repentance. Which I don't see. I mean, I am definitely pessimist in this. I don't see it. Some will come back. And even with the amount of people that end up converting every year in Bali Tshuva, returning to Judaism, that someone was born a Jew, and they were born, they were secular and they became religious, is a drop in the bucket compared to the ones you're losing. In the year 2000. In the year 2000, there was a study done that basically said we're losing 35,000 Jews a year to assimilation into marriage. 35,000. That was in the year 2000. 20 years later, I guarantee it's double. I guarantee it's got to be at least 60, 65, 70,000 you're losing a year. How many Jews, how many converts do you have a year, and how many secular Jews become religious? 1,000? I'll be generous. 10,000. Let's say 10,000. It's a joke. I'll be very generous here. Yeah, 10,000. How many you lose in a year? Compensate 60,000, 70,000. So who's going to be left? If you want to tell me you're going to have this great war and people are going to be afraid and they're going to come back to Hashem, very good. I'll avoid that would be true. I don't see it. I think a lot of people, are going to be wiped off the face of the map spiritually. The only people you're going to have left are Orthodox Jews. That's it. I told people, many times, either you look like me as an Orthodox Jew or you disappear. Nothing else. It's impossible. It's impossible. Right? Massive, Tshuva movement, you're not going to save everyone. You're definitely not going to save everyone. There's going to be a remnant left. Right? What is a remnant? 10%? 15% of the Jewish people. It's not going to be a huge number. I never don't believe it's going to be a huge number. Yeah, so it's only going to be, I'm not going to say a handful, but it's going to be what we see today. Essentially what you see today. 90% into marriage, intermarrying or assimilating out, right? Or doing next to nothing, right? Or you're an Orthodox Jew, nothing in between. Right? Either going to go to one side or the other. That's it. Right? That's what you're going to have. You're not going to have anything in between. Right? So yeah, I will be pessimistic on the, on that point. Yeah, let me see other questions here. Someone says on Kinos that some Jews went to Germany for having Babylon exile, they want to come back. Says New Jerusalem, right? That's exactly what they did. It's what the Reform movement said. Yeah, we don't want to go back to Israel. That's offensive. That's offensive to people. So we'll say, go back to Berlin. We're happy being in Berlin. And it's not a coincidence that's where the Holocaust started. Not a coincidence at all. I can understand if I put on my funny George Burns glasses, my funny mustache, I was playing God, and he sees, a good number of his people saying they don't want to go back to Jerusalem. Forget about building the temple. Forget about animal sacrifices. We're happy being in exile, in Germany or wherever we are. It's been a good exile, and whatever. God says, what? I gave the Jewish people the land of Israel. I gave them the temple. Okay, I had to destroy it, whatever. And you say, you don't believe that you're going to come back to the land. It's not going to be restored. And you're going to say you're going to be happy where you are now. I think that's kind of offensive. If we were playing God and looking down, saying that's how you repay me for everything I do for you, right? That's how you repay me. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you the greatest level of intelligence. That's what the Germans were at that time. They had the greatest level of intelligence in the world. So he said, I'm going to show you through intelligence what intelligence can do. I'm going to show you how bad intelligence is. That if you don't have a guide, you don't have a moral guide, so to speak, right? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? You'll be lost. You will be absolutely lost. And so therefore, you will assimilate, you into marry. But the host country is going to show you. They are going to show you, as intelligent as they are, they're going to treat you less than human. They're going to treat you worse than they would treat any dog. Yeah. So what does that show? It shows if you have, super intelligence, but you don't have a moral compass or a moral code, you're toast. You're going to be toast because it can only lead you a certain way. Right? Except by Aristotle. Aristotle, a great philosopher. Aristotle would also do terrible things. But asked him, how can you be great Aristotle and do these terrible things? But he said, this Aristotle, the philosopher. Aristotle does these other things. And we don't believe in that. There's no compartmentalization, of morality. Either you do what's right or you don't do what's right. You don't say, well, today I'll keep Torah mitzvahs, and later I'll do what I want. No. What about when a person sins and this and that? Very true. We give into our evil inclination. Okay. Not that we should. Can't justify it. You can't say, well, today I'm not keeping Torah mitzvahs. That doesn't work. Right? So you want to keep Torah mitzvahs, just means you stumble and you make mistakes, okay? Depends what level of mistakes, depends what you're holding, depends on a lot of different things. Depends on a lot of different things. But if you're gonna say, we shouldn't go to Jerusalem and we're happy being in exile, and we're happy being in this exile, in this specific place. In theory, don't you think God could get ticked off and say, that's what they're doing against me? Okay. I'm going to show you that, the greatest intelligentsia, the greatest intelligence in the earth right now, which was Germany. They had unbelievable, intelligence in so many different fields. That's why America hid some of the Nazis, after the war, so the Russians wouldn't get them in order to use their minds, right? Use their, their great mind, which you can say, how could they do that? Listen, business is business. Politics is politics. They don't want them getting the wrong hands, so they wanted that information. Very good. Yeah, but they know what they did. So intelligence does not make you moral. 100%. Can only take you so far. If you don't have a moral compass, forget it. Right? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Yeah. So it could be, again, I'm not saying it's the reason, right? Let's not make a mistake. I don't think it's the reason, but it's a very, very strong, compelling reason to say why it happened there, why it started there. It could be 100 other reasons also, right? I think it's a very strong reason though. It just shows intelligence can only take you so far, right? There's no, there's absolutely no question. And at the end of the day, whatever it is, we don't know why this thing's happening, right? We have no clue. We know it's punishment, and it's tremendous punishment. I don't think there's any question, right? But at the end of the day, God runs the world, right? And that's what we have to see in our everyday life. That's the connection. That's the connection. No matter what happens, person has to say whether it's good or God forbid bad. You're going to say, God, you're the one in charge. And there are a million things we don't understand, right? We know we have to be better. We know we have to try harder. So we want to invite, a person's in dire straits in different ways. We want to invoke God's compassion. How do you invoke God's compassion? You invoke God's compassion by saying, listen, you put me in this situation. I might have deserved it. Could be something my soul has to go through, whatever it is. The mantra is, you are the one in charge. I can't do anything without you. You're the one in charge, right? So we take a tremendous burden off ourselves by saying, okay, I'm in X situation. I don't know how you're going to work it out, but I know you're going to work it out. I know you're going to take care of business in ways I probably never thought of, right? That takes a tremendous pressure off. Why? Because if I left it up to myself, we're backed in a corner, right? We're backed in a corner. How am I going to get out of it? Good question. Very good question. What's the answer? He's the one that runs the world. He's the one in charge. He's the one that's going to make it happen. Yeah. How? Right? That's not really my problem. Holy says in the gate of Bitachon, right? Shar Bitachon, Baramuna, having faith in him. You leave it up to him. You let him run it. You got to put your best foot forward, right? You got to do whatever it takes. Very good. But you remember one thing. He's the one in charge. That's it. So if he's the one in charge, then I feel much better. I feel much, much better. I feel like you're being squeezed left, right, and center. Very good. Very good. But what's the bottom line? I'm going to leave it up to him. But, he's going to make it happen one way or another. Positive thinking goes a long way. We are very critical. We're very critical of others. We're very critical of ourselves. And, we can't be so critical. We have to cut ourselves a little bit of slack. Yeah, we make mistakes. We might make mistakes again. Another time, okay, I got to get to the root of what it is. I got to change. I got to work hard. That's what we have to do. Some people give up before they start. They just say, it's too hard. You're right. A lot of painful things you got to face. Sometimes, even a person went to a psychologist to get help. Yeah. They're not going to hit you straight up necessarily. A person can't handle it. It's too much. So you work on this a little bit, you work on that a little bit. You get them to see certain things until they see it. But they hit them straight on. Again, it depends on the situation. Depends on the circumstance. But at the same time, whatever situation I'm in is, either God wants me in that situation to grow in whatever way, right? Or we did it to ourselves. Not necessarily he's testing us. We did it to ourselves. Now God says, okay, figure it out. How are you going to get out of it? Yeah, how are you going to work it out? But a lot of it's a test. That's what life is. We want to say it's a test. I'm going to pass it 100%. That's what we have to say. Even if the chips look down. I heard a story. It happened 2 days ago. I heard this story. There's a woman going somewhere. She's a divorced woman going somewhere. And she's on the phone. She's on the phone trying to get directions. And the cop stops her. They were speaking on her phone. But she needed to continue this conversation to get to where she needed. So the cop told her to stop. She didn't stop. She got a fine. She got a fine for 1,000 shekels, about $350. No, she doesn't have a lot of money. Right? She doesn't have a lot of money. And she's like, I don't know what to do over here. I don't know how I'm going to pay this, whatever. So the person on the other end of the phone said, I want you to take on right now, and say out loud, God, whatever you do is for the best. Whatever you do is for the best. Right? She had no idea where his money's coming from, and this was something very hard to do. she did it to herself and whatever. Like, she's like, okay, it's going to be very hard, but I'm going to say it. This is, this is for the best. And I know you're only doing the best for me, and that's it. Now, you're going to say she's out 1,000 shekels for her, right? She's out $300, $350, whatever it is. So it's like, how can this be for the best? Story gets better. She's in contact with someone. I don't know. She had a lot of followers on social media, whatever it was. And she put up this story. So I don't know why I deserved it, whatever. I got this fine. I don't know, I'm going to pay for it, whatever. Someone contacted her. And said, I want you, I want to help you. And I know you're struggling and whatever, so I want to help you. So I'm going to send you $1,000. She said $1,000. The fine was only 1,000 shekels. Yeah, it was only $300. $350 says, I want you to take the money, take $1,000, and I want you to use it for yourself. Yeah, you pay off the bill, whatever it is, right? You pay off that fine, and you use that $700 to, for yourself, pamper yourself. So then, a few days later, she finds out that her niece is really struggling. She needs to go to seminary. She needs to go after high school, to get, law of strength going for another year, in a different school. It costs $5,000. She doesn't have the money, to help. She wanted to use some of that money, to try and offset the tuition. So she asked this person, can I use some of that money? Can I use some of that money in order to offset, some of the costs? The person said, absolutely not. I want you to use that money for yourself. You know what? He said, I'll send you the money. I'll send you $5,000 for your niece. I'll send you the $5,000 for your niece. And there's one other thing. I think there's one other thing. I think he sent other money for something else. I forget exactly what it was. So this woman thinks now, this happened 2 days ago. 3 days ago it happened. Yeah. So, because my daughter knows the person involved, told the story. She told the story to my wife. So we were saying the story over the Shabbos table. Divine providence, how it works. So here, the person thinks, okay, it's like the world is over. She got a fine for $300. But in the end, not only was the fine taken care of, not only was she given, spending money for herself, right? In order to, in order to strengthen herself, but she also got money to help her niece go to school where she needed to go. It's something that was absolutely crucial. So we see things. We see things that, they don't happen to certain people. It doesn't matter. You say, it never happened to me. We see things in our lives that, we can't explain according to nature. No possible way to explain according to nature. Yeah. Here we think this is, such a terrible thing, which it looks bad. 100% it looks bad. And she has to pay this fine. Okay. But what came out of it? What came out of it? Not only was the fine taken care of, not only she had spending money for herself, she helps her niece in the process go to school, which she really needs. You can say, what are the odds of that? 0. God runs the world. God's the one in charge, right? But what did she take on? What did she say? Even in the darkest time. And when you don't have a lot of money, a little bit of money is a lot of money, right? $300 if you don't have any money is a lot of money. A lot of money. So she took on at that point to say, God, I know you're doing this for my benefit. I know this is going to come out and turn out well for me. How am I going to see it? Where am I going to see it? I don't know. But she took that on. She said it on. This other person told her, say it. Say it on the spot. Because good things are going to come out of it. Right? It's about, positive feelings. Positive feelings, whatever. There's a lot to speak about. But that can take away a lot of things also. So here you see, okay, she took it on. She very hard to take on. To say this is going to be good when it doesn't look good at all. Totally doesn't look good. Or it looks like seemingly impossible. And look what happens. Look what happens. Someone contacts her on social media and says, I heard about your plight. I want to help you. Now, look at this person like, exorbitantly rich, by any stretch. At least that's not the impression I got. But the person, had money. He wanted to use it for a good thing, and that's what he used it for. Yeah, again, the odds of that, they're going to say, that doesn't prove God runs the world. That's a coincidence. Right. It could be a coincidence, yeah. But, you see something like that, you see it's people helping people. But you don't know what triggers someone to do this, do that, and the other thing. We understand it. God runs the world. That's how we understand it. And God makes all these connections. Right? There's countless stories of people how to raise money for, Jewish institutions and how they got in contact, with people that help them. I mean, unbelievable stories. They don't happen by accident. They don't happen by accident. God's running the world. Sometimes the person will, will say something. I can't believe I just said that. That should totally offend them and this and that. In the end, the person says, yeah, I took on to say I was going to give I was going to give all this money to a certain place. I was waiting for a person to say X, Y, and Z. It's happened to it's like David Grossman. Should be well. He started this. He's known as a disco rabbi. He used to go in discos trying to take people out of discos and teach them the proper way of Torah mitzvahs. A very difficult place. People were poor and different things. Going on. There's crime. Where he went to Migdal Emek, which is up north. Up north, and he tells a story. How he met like a major donor on a plane. He got bumped up to first class, whatever, for different reasons. And he said something like he couldn't believe he said it. He couldn't believe he said it. This person said, I was waiting for someone to say X, Y, and Z because that's the money I was going to give to their institution. Because they looked high and low all over Israel, in order to find an institution and give this money. etc. And he came back. He didn't find such an institution. So he said, if I find someone who's saying, well, this, that, and the other thing, then I know it's like a sign. Then I know it's a sign. Yeah. He comes on the plane, gets bumped up to first class. Different things happen. Yeah. He makes a statement he really shouldn't have said. Right. He has regret he said it. And that opened the door. Person gave him a huge check. Huge check. So things happen. You can say, oh, that's random. So we don't believe in random. We believe in something called divine providence. Divine providence is a real thing. Right? And it happens a lot. It happens in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways we don't expect. Right? A lot of ways. And there are a lot of stories out there. A lot of stories out there that I always say, fact is greater than fiction. You can't, like, certain things you cannot make up. Something like that, person thinks they said something really offensive, this and that. Okay. What are you going to do? You made the wrong statement, this, that. And it turned out to be the best in such a way. You don't know. You don't know. And, there are stories, I've had my own stories. Right. I have my own stories also. Things like you don't expect, you least expect. And, God orchestrates. Now, it wouldn't have been the way you thought it. It wouldn't, things look bad in one way. So we always say, when something looks bad, something looks bad, God opens up other doors. If doors get shut, other doors open. What happens? Right? That's essentially what happens. But you gotta live it. You gotta believe it. You gotta say, yeah, this is gonna be good. How? I don't know, but God's gonna take care of business. Nothing bad is gonna come out of it. Yeah. Any other questions? All right, I'm gonna stop here. I do this every Saturday, 2:30 Eastern time, 5:30. 9:30. Israel time, just in case anyone thinks, I don't keep Shabbos, not Shabbos for me, so people should know. This week, I am starting my one-on-ones in spiritual coaching, and I'm going to start group coaching, I think, on Wednesday. That's going to be I'm going to put it up there soon. I think that's what it's going to be. So anyone interested, learning how to deal with, whatever difficulties people go through, whether it's dealing with family, whether it's dealing with, financial issues, or dealing with health issues, or any, spiritual issues like that. So I'm going to cover with people one-on-one or in a group. So anyone interested in that can definitely contact me. Sunday, we're going to continue with the book of Leviticus, chapter 17. Anyone wants to contact me, find me on Facebook at Michael Chaim Kaufman, Beyond Orthodox Conversion in Judaism, orthodoxconversion.com, Beyond Orthodox Conversion, the Judaism on YouTube. There I got videos on Pirke Avos, Ethics for Our Fathers, Q&As, Torah portion of the week, book of Leviticus, controversial issues. You want to send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RBBICHAIMCOFFMAN@gmail.com, which I'm good.